So great. I want to give them an opportunity to mention their name so that you can hear from them. Just one sentence, your name, where you come from, and what actually you do in your organization. Let me start with you, Felix.
Good. This is quite uncomfortable. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felix Chege. I'm the founder and CEO of a company by the name Real Sources Africa. Real Sources Africa is an AFCFTA trading company. We are a trade facilitator and currently positioned as an official trading company on behalf of Kenya, representing consolidation, aggregation within the African market. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Hasnain. I hope his mic is working. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm Jambo. My name is Hasnain Noorani, and I am the Group Managing Director of the Pride Inn Hotels, Resorts, and Camps. We have a total of 8 hotels within Kenya. We are a very young group, founded only in 2012, where we started with one hotel of 28 rooms. And over a period of a decade plus, we have grown from 28 rooms to over 900 rooms and conference capacities of over 15,000 people. We really specialize in MICE tourism, and that's where our core focus is. So we have 2 beach resorts in Mombasa, 2 city hotels. We have 3 city hotels in Nairobi and 1 bush camp. And we're still looking forward to growing and investing further into Kenya and into Africa in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hasnain. I'm sure most of us have seen the Pride Inn stand here, so please make your way there and get to know more about who Pride Inn Group of Hotels and Resorts and Camps are. Thank you. Dr. Fagode?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can. My name is Are Abisoye Fagade. I'm the Director General, CEO, National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism in Nigeria. NIOTOR is responsible to the personnel, operators, and professionals in tourism, travel, and hospitality in Nigeria. Up until like 3 years ago, it was just a training institute, but now the government has charged the institute to regulate the services in that sector. And thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Fagade. We're going to have a deeper conversation about what you do. And let's come to Felix. Emmanuel Treku, sorry. Emmanuel?
Right, thank you. My name is Emmanuel Treku, CEO Intertourism Expo Accra. We host the annual Tourism Expo in Ghana. It's a MICE tourism project for destination marketing, and also we consult for private sector tourism across board. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand we have online one of our panelists who couldn't make it here. That is Daria Bogdanova. She's joining us from, I think, Moscow. So Daria, if you can hear me, please take a minute to introduce yourself. Is Daria with us? Is she online? Good. I think when she joins us, we're going to get to her. So let me say one thing. This is a panel on investment opportunities in Africa. You know, Africa needs a lot of investments. Africa is not just a destination. It's an investment frontier. We should all be aware of that. Today, we want to understand what are the opportunities which lie ahead here in Africa, what risks to anticipate, and how global investors can plug in. So let me start by going directly to Mr. Treku. What are the most bankable opportunities in West Africa, especially from Ghana, where you come from, in terms of tourism investment?
Right, thank you. Let me start from the structure or existing structures that platforms that bring investment into our countries, so to speak, Ghana. Now, strategically for us, we have the AFC in Ghana. It's a platform that coordinates every African country to bring investment into one unit. So that is a good platform for us. Now, from the government point of view, today we have launched the 24-hour economy, which is also a good platform that drives investment. Now, coming to the tourism sector, Ghana is selling for business tourism. We have a lot of people coming in because of businesses and then the kind of ecosystem we are enjoying in terms of the political stability. Therefore, business meetings is one of the areas that West Africa has not taken advantage of, and so to speak, Ghana. And investment into the mine segment is one key area because it cuts across every facet of industry. The financial sector is holding big meetings. The health sector is holding meetings. All the sectors in Ghana are holding various meetings. But then the infrastructure is what we need now. Now, hospitality is also one of the key areas because the chain of hotels that we need to host these bigger business meetings are areas that we have to look at in terms of investment in the tourism sector. Now, when we come to leisure, of course, Africans are driven by leisure. Now, eco parks, theme parks as well. Ghana is also surrounded with a lot of flora and fauna, so our agricultural sector is also an area where we can now look at ecotourism or agritourism because we have old farms, old cocoa farms. There are some farms which are over 105 years. These are farms that can really be an ecotourism site that we can now develop for business.
Thank you so much. And I want also to ask Dr. Fagode the same question. You know, Nigeria is such a big investment destination. The other day, Bill Gates said that in Africa, the most potential destination to invest before you go anywhere in Africa is in Nigeria. What opportunities do you see in your home country?
Well, thank you very much for that question. As you all can already see, there's limitless opportunity in Africa. Let's take, for example, the African demographic advantage. Africa has the youngest population in the world, and the median is about 19, which means we have an age bracket that is trainable, teachable, and very aspirational. So one sector that we can actually invest in, which is a low-hanging fruit, is the training sector in tourism. Because not every kid will wake up one day and say, I want to be a tour guide, because it's not an aspirational position. It's not like an IT thing, because they haven't seen the opportunity and they don't see the return on investment. That is one angle, which is what the role we play in Nigeria as NIOTO, training, bridging the knowledge gap and all of that. Another sector is infrastructure, like you rightly said. We are currently advertising African to the wrong market. Why did I say that? We are telling foreigners to come and invest in our country who don't understand our culture, they don't understand how we do business, they don't understand what we do. And in Africa, we have billionaires who can actually undertake this project. Let's say, for example, Nigeria to Ghana by here is about 45 minutes. By road is about 6 hours with all the whatever. If Dangote can invest his money in oil, which will dry up one day, what makes him stop? Why can't he invest in transportation, a rail system, a fast rail system from Nigeria to Accra? That is an infrastructure that will be there forever. And that is part of tourism. That train can take you from Lagos through Togo to Accra. And that is tourism. Second of it is, in Africa, we invest for the short term. We don't invest for the long-term goal. It is important for us to understand that everything we need is right here. We just need to talk to the right people and position the business in such a way that we don't allow foreigners to come and benefit from our resources the same way they did with our oil. If you don't know, as we speak today, tourism is a social currency, it's a social Bitcoin. You might not know the value now, but if you sleep on it, you regret that later. So the investment is enormous. Let me just stop here so that other people can speak.
Thank you. We'll come back there, I can assure you, and talk about Dangote. And I'll come back to you with a question. How do we get Dangote invest in tourism, especially as you've said, at a railway line from Nigeria to Ghana?
It's simple.
But we shall come back there. Let me go to Asnain. Asnain, you're my good friend. You're a prolific hotelier. There is no question about it. If I gave you $100 million today, where will you put that money in Africa?
I think...
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very good amount of money to have. Maybe I'll just put it in the bank and sit down. But no. Tourism has, if we look at generally in Africa in general, Africa is very virgin. Africa has not been tapped. If at all, we have only started realizing importance of tourism in the past few years. But now coming back to your question, the biggest opportunities within Kenya that lies in Kenya, that we have within Kenya is within the Kenyan coast. Kenyan coast is absolutely unexplored. If you look at the Kenyan coast, we have 5 or 6 key destinations. Let's look at it. We have Mombasa, there's Malindi, there's Diani, there's Lamu, there's Watamu, there's the Tana River, and then there's the Tsavo East and West. Even if you just look at the Tsavo East and West, you look at the Tsavo East and West, the availability of eco-lodges, those have great opportunities, knowing that the cruise tourism is about coast. If you look at from Malindi, from Mombasa going upwards, Mombasa to Malindi, to Lamu, to Watamu, the only source of traveling is by road, or maybe we have 1 flight a day. And these are destinations that can actually be done by water taxis, that can actually be done by ferries. And Zanzibar, Dar es Salaam is a good example of how those ferries have enabled transportation into Zanzibar, and therefore increasing the numbers of tourism that goes in. So transportation requirements, water taxis, and then let's all understand one thing. If you look at Africa in general, hotels, every country has the hotels, the mixed range of hotels, right from the 5 stars, the 4 stars, the 3 stars. Even in Kenya, we have several eco-lodges. We have several luxury camps. We have boutique luxury camps. Tourism these days is all about experiences. You do not just go to a destination because of a hotel. You go to a destination because of the experiences it offers. Now, a lot of times we focus on hotels, and hotels. But it is the tourism experiences. Let's talk about tourism experiences that we have. Within the Kenya coast, if you look at Mombasa, the investment within the old town. If you look at investment in terms of the food markets, water taxis, there's the water taxis, maybe the ferries infrastructure. If you look at Lamu, that has been absolutely untapped. There's a lot of opportunities to be able to tap into Lamu. So Kenya coast in general has huge opportunities. But now even at the moment, if you look at Nairobi and Masai Mara, those are the areas of focus. But we have amazing, Kenya is a land that we have everything under one roof, whether you're looking at wildlife, beach, city. If you look at deserts, we look at marine life, all right? We look at ocean. We have everything under the roof in Kenya. We have a fantastic location on the equator. We are centrally located. But the areas that we have mostly been able to tap into is mostly the wildlife, which is safaris, which is the Masai Mara, and then a bit of the Kenya coast. But there's a lot more of experiences, bungee jumping, skydiving. These are all the various experiences. Given the $100 million, the investment would purely go into mixed-use developments to create good returns on investments, but at the same time, investment into experiences, or which are now the high-end experiences, like the skydiving experiences, the bungee jumping experiences, the water ferries, the water taxis. These are the experiences that I would particularly invest that money on.
Thank you. And you've touched on really important areas, which again will come back. I'm sure even the audience here, you'll have time to ask them questions. So please start preparing your questions. Felix, I'm sure you've heard Asnain mention about mixed use development, right? But, you know, for any investor, they need to be assured. Sometimes we see there is a lot of bureaucracy when you're trying to do an investment. It's a chain of requirements that actually discourages you along the way. If you had an investor, probably they'll say, this is too much. And the second thing, as Nina has also mentioned about infrastructure. Emmanuel mentioned it, and Dr. Fayode also mentioned it. And also political instability. Sometimes we really see a lot of political instabilities in some countries in Africa. So how do you see this being mitigated on the ground?
No, thank you for that. I'll talk from an AFCFTA perspective. Now, we have a protocol on investment that has just come into action. And this protocol on investment is looking at how can we streamline the processes, the permits, the requirements within different African member states to have a more or less a harmonized way to look into investment into any sector, which also includes the tourism sector.
Okay.
But at the same time, as much as we may like to dwell more on the challenges, I think the same challenges creates a number of opportunities. One of the opportunity I see is that we need to reinvent the way we look at tourism. I look at most places whereby they've structured their tourism by seasons. Like maybe in January we need to think of what should Africa be known for in January and where in particular. March, end of the year, just to create the experiences that my fellow panelists have just talked about, so that we create different experiences and stop becoming more or less only about the safaris and the maras and all that. And in Kenya in particular, I think business tourism is one of the things that we really need to take up really seriously. We have the industrial parks that have just been created. They need to be filled up. We need to bring people to view some of these opportunities. We need to have them see, and not only just see, but also feel the opportunities that are there. I believe that for any investment to happen, we may like to profile and say in the coast we have sandy beaches, but we also need to get very specific. Can we break down these investment opportunities to tangible things of saying that we need a hotel in Lamu? This is the capacity of the hotel we require. This is the ROI of that particular hotel, so that if you are to be kind enough and also give me that $1 million that you are talking about, I'll be ready to tell you I'll pay you back that amount of money, because a feasibility study has actually been done, and this is a return of investment, because that really will kind of not only bring people to the investments, but also pull investment in form of liquidity to these opportunities. Because one side of the conversation is saying we have investment opportunities, and the other side is this is where you need to pump in your money, because this is a return over this period of time. I think structuring our conversations from a practical angle will really support us in making informed investment decisions.
Oh, fantastic. Before we go ahead, we're joined by our online panelist, Daria Bogdanova. She's joining us, I think, from Moscow. Is she able to introduce herself? Daria, can you hear us? Yes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I really believe that you... Do you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Oh, that's amazing. Finally, thank you so much for an invitation. First of all, I would like to thank for this invitation. Thank you so much that I can take part here. First of all, I would like to say a few words about myself and my experience. I present Versus Consulting Group from Russia. We have 3 offices in Moscow, in Dubai, but actually I'm here from St. Petersburg in our main office. We are a complex consulting group. Now we have more than 200 employees, and we accompany invest projects all over the world. Previously, I was a lawyer of public partnership, so PPP lawyer, and here I'm taking part in this section because, first of all, we work with all kinds of invest projects, not only in Russia, but all over the world. And in my experience, I had 2 invest projects made by PPP in Russia, in hospital, in tourism, by PPP a tourist project. And in Russia, I'm presenting Russian markets, and we really see that a lot of investors, they're looking forward to enter to the African market, also to the tourism to tourist sector. And in my opinion, a lot of investors, they do not understand properly how to enter to this market, and I really believe that by making conferences and events like that, we can improve the situation.
Thank you. Investors do not understand where they should invest in Africa. That's the message I'm getting from Daria, and thank you so much for that. If you had an opportunity...
Please, can you turn on the volume, because I can hear anything?
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Thank
All
you.
right, fine. I'm just following up on your comment that investors do not know where to invest in Africa. And today, if you knew where to invest in Africa, especially in tourism, where could you put your dollars?
Actually, as I see, a lot of people are interested in infrastructure. Because if we speak about Africa, we know that wild nature has great attention to a lot of tourists all over the world. But I think we need to think about the availability of airports and roads and so on. In Russia, we had a great experience by making infrastructure all over the country, everywhere. So by in our experience, we made a lot of airports, railway stations, paved roads all over the world. So, and that's why we understand how it works. And I think in this point of view, I see that first of all, people are interested in making infrastructure for letting tourists. For making an opportunity for tourists to go to different parts of Africa.
Thank you. And let me come back to Dr. Fagade. You know, everybody has spoken about infrastructure, and I think that's the elephant in the room. You know, sometimes even when we want to do a conference anywhere else, people want to understand what infrastructure is in that destination. How can Africa improve on its infrastructure so that investors can actually now start pumping their money into Africa?
Thank you very much for that. I think basically is intentionality, the willingness of the politician to invest in tourism infrastructure. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to sell to somebody who doesn't understand what tourism is all about. They would rather build roads to the farm or to somewhere else than build roads to where a waterfall, because they didn't see the end game. So first thing first, I said it earlier, we need to start our internal marketing. First thing, by making sure that whoever that is elected in office understand the importance of tourism. Is a replacement for any other natural resources, because most of those natural resources, they dry up at some point in time, but not tourism. Year in, year out, tourism is there, and we are so blessed in Africa that we do not have a climate problem as such. Year in, year out, the whole of Africa can be visited. So talking about infrastructure in Africa, it lies with the willingness and intentionality of the leaders to say, we need to build good roads, we need to build interconnectivity to those places, then we need to pump in money to get return on that investment. The good thing, which is currently the bad things for the investor about tourism, is the money is never instant. It's not like a show, like you bring in an artist and you get the money immediately. It's over time. Maybe we need to be talking to the bankers to see how they can come up with some sort of pitch that can sell tourism over the years. For people have a cash store up somewhere. If you invest $10 million and they spread across time, if you are willing, maybe we should put it this way, if you are willing to create a generational wealth, go into tourism. But if you just want money for now that is not sustainable, you can invest in some other things. But if you want a generational wealth, go into tourism. I made an example of the train system from Ghana to, that's an infrastructure. With that, you can actually export, import from Ghana is easy and faster. The commuting from Ghana to, what's it called? It's easier. But would the government do that? No. Is that Ghana will push it to Nigeria, or Togo will say whatever, but a businessman who understands instability in Africa, a businessman who can invest in politics will do that, who understands that government in, government out, I'm still here. A foreigner would not be able to do that. Once there's an instability somewhere, he picks his bag and go. That's why I keep saying that we need to remarket Africa to African billionaires. Tourism in Africa should be invested in by the billionaires in Africa because they live here and they live for Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to come back and talk about a very passionate topic to me in business tourism or business events. But before that, I want to come to the audience. Everybody seated here could probably have a question to ask the panels about what are some of the areas you think they need to respond to in terms of investing in Africa. Anybody with a question? Yes, there is a gentleman behind there. Can we give him a mic? Please stand. You say your name, where you are from, and who you are asking a question. Do we have a mic for the audience?
Thank you. My name is Dr. Laban Rotich from Murang'a University. My question goes to Dr. Fagode from Nigeria. Now, we are doing a lot of training in the university through the tourism and hospitality curriculum. Now that we are talking about One Africa, how do we standardize our training to ensure that the graduates we churn out every year, not only from the university, but also tertiary and vocational training institutions, how do we ensure we have a graduate who is trained all round, not only from Kenya, but also from other African countries? Do we have one university offering one program? Do we have a certification, for instance, one exam that any student from across Africa can do it, then enter the industry? Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Fagode, there is another question there from a lady, your name, where you come from, and who you want to respond to your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clara Chimokoro, and I run a company called My Beautiful Africa, and our focus is on technology
Can you
in the industry.
A bit louder.
Okay, I said my name is Clara Chimokoro. I'm from Nigeria. I run My Beautiful Africa, a travel technology company. I'm going to direct my question to the gentleman from Ghana. My interest is, there are funding available globally, IFC, World Bank, and the rest of them, but nobody seems to bring this to the notice of the players in the industry. If they're educated that there are intervention funds for the tourism industry, I'm very sure a lot of countries can take advantage of that. How can we in the continent of Africa begin to access these funds by global financial institutions to develop the industry?
Such a nice question. So before we get any other question, let's give the team here time to respond. Let's start with you, Emmanuel.
Right, thank you for that question. One of the things I would say that development partners or international financial organizations have issue with Africa, investment in Africa or finances, is the challenge of leadership, misusing funds that are given to us, Africans. Two, there is a disconnect between private sector and public sector. And these are some of the challenges that have brought to bear that development partners don't want to come to that play. But now, for us to get to that level, private sector must come together and have a unified front. Because if you are working on our own, nobody's prepared to finance us. And we must also bridge that gap between the public-private partnership. And this is where then we can have these funds. So the funds are available, but then how we should go about it, with lacking that kind of processes.
Thank you. I'm sure if you are not satisfied with his response, just have a conversation with him, because I understand he really has wonderful knowledge. Dr. Fagade, over to you in the next...
Well, I wish I worked for the African Union, so I would have been able to answer that question directly. But really, I feel that in any sector, training is a continuous thing. Knowledge is always continuous. You don't stop training. And if you are in Nigeria, for example, if you go to a university for law and you finish in law in a university with a LLB or whatever it's called, you are supposed to go to a law school before you can practice. And that means the sector is actually heavily regulated. Tourism, hospitality is not really regulated in Nigeria, and that's what we're trying to do. And we need to get that right first as a country, then come together as a continent. Then maybe I should also use this opportunity to say that I'm a Nigerian, you're a Kenyan, you're a Ghanaian, you are a Zimbabwean, you're a South African. Out there in the world, they see all of us as African. They don't care where you are from. And it's only internally that we don't do business with each other. They see us as the same, but we don't see each other as the same. I don't know why it's so difficult for us as Africans to do business with Africa. Those are the things that we need to address as a continent. We are each other's friends. We shouldn't be enemies. Doing business across borders should be seamless. And I've heard that times and times over again. And it boils down to leadership. So, and that also concerns what you said about training and acceptability of your certification. You can't be certified in Kenya and want to work in South Africa. You still need their certification. The same thing that happens in America. The only difference is that the money is higher over there. So as an African country, the leaders need to come together and say, for tourism to excel, there has to be a standard for Africa that is acceptable to all of us. And that will cascade down to countries, cascade down to states. Until then, my brother, we still have to do what we have now.
Are you saying that we truly don't have a way ahead, or are you saying that we have some work to do before we achieve it? But before you respond to that question, let's talk about a topic I said which is very passionate to me, that's business tourism. We call it business events, or we call it MICE. And I know Hasnain has really invested a lot in MICE, right? But I know that beyond MICE, we still don't have enough facilities, especially to take care of our business events. Hasnain, from where you are sitting, from that vantage point of being the group managing director of Pride in Hotels, Resorts, and Camps, what advice could you give us on where to target in terms of business events? Because we all know how potential the industry is.
Actually, thank you, Jeff. Yes, we have heavily invested in MICE, and I study quite a big data for MICE. And if you just look at association meetings that happen around the world, in 2024, 11,000 association meetings happened in the world, with majority of those meetings being held in Europe and Asia, and obviously the US. Africa as a whole, as a full continent, hosted only 3% of the 11,000 association meetings. Now, that on its own tells you the opportunities available within MICE that hasn't been tapped. If you look at Africa that hosts 3%, South Africa, which is Cape Town, has taken the highest share of nearly 90 plus meetings. Thereafter, we have Morocco, we have Rwanda, and then Kenya comes in. And then after Kenya, we have other African countries. So if you look at it, while South Africa hosted 93 meetings in total, in Kenya, we only hosted 29 meetings, out of which 24 were hosted in Nairobi, and 5 were only hosted in the Kenya coast, which is in Mombasa. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you there is a big proportion of MICE business and business events that has not been captured. Why is that the case scenario? The biggest way to capture MICE is to having a functional national convention bureau. Now, again, like my brother said, within Africa, tourism hasn't yet been understood. And hence, that's the reason why a lot of these associations or these organizations that are able to capture the MICE or to able to pull MICE. And let's all understand something. MICE and meetings and business events will not just fall on our laps automatically, just because we are Africa or just because we are Kenya or just because we are any other African country. They're not falling automatically. These are things that have to be bidded. We have to come in with our value proposition of ensuring that we are able to showcase to them the experiences. And believe me, when you talk to these international MICE organizers, they are looking for a change. They are looking for different opportunities. But to be able to host and to be able to tap into these association meetings, and which are the kind of association meetings? A lot of times we say Africa cannot host majority of these meetings because we don't have the convention centers. Do you know 70% of the association meetings are generally between 0 to 1,000 delegates, which majority hotels in Kenya, in Nairobi, in Mombasa, I believe in Ghana, in Nigeria, are able to host those meetings. We have rooms that can host, and the highest chunk is between 0 to 300 people. If I ask my brothers here, how many hotels have conferences for 200-300 people? Many. But yet, when we talk about MICE, we always talk about we don't have a convention center, we don't have a convention center. It is not about the convention center, it is about the understanding of the importance of MICE tourism. Now, MICE tourism, a MICE tourist spends 6 times more on average than a leisure tourist. That's number one. A MICE tourist, someone who's coming for meetings and incentives and conferences, all right, is going to come back with his family of 4. So you can imagine the ripple effects. But where exactly, and if you look at it, Kenya was always number 2 before in terms of hosting association meetings. Then our younger brother or our little brother Rwanda came in and overtook Kenya to claim the 2nd position or the 3rd position. And what is it that makes Cape Town the highest? Number 2, we have Morocco. Then number 3, Rwanda. What is it that makes them the top 3? It's because Cape Town was one of the first to create a National Convention Bureau. With the National Convention Bureau, they adapt capacity training because MICE events require capacity training. And then there's also the bidding process. And a lot of these meetings involve support from the government in terms of infrastructure, in terms of security, okay, in terms of some sponsorships. And the good thing about MICE, whilst leisure, I have to convince each and every single individual that you have to come to Kenya. With MICE, the fact that MKTE is happening in Nairobi, you're not going to go to any other country but to come to Nairobi. You did not choose the destination was chosen for you. And now when you finally come into the destination, you're able to realize the beauty and the importance of this destination and therefore come back with family. The fact that you're all here, you're not here for leisure, you're here for business, which means they're going to hold business meetings. All right, and when you're holding your business meetings, you're going to go out to restaurants, to malls, clubs, pubs. Taxis are going to be used. All right, all these support facilities are going to be used to generate revenue. So these are all the opportunities that we have within the business events. So it's about having a functional National Convention Bureau that is able to bid for these association meetings, to be able to bid for such kind of prestigious government events, to be able to bid for different kind of society events which enable tourism to come in through. Once a National Convention Bureau is functional, and if you look at South Africa in general, They have the South African Convention Bureau, they have the Cape Town Convention Bureau, the Joburg has got its own Convention Bureau. All right, it is the importance and the understanding of why these events are important. And like my brother said, the understanding of tourism and the importance of tourism in creating generational wealth. I wish I could be able to talk to you about, because I was reading about history of Dubai, and it's such an interesting thing as to how they've built to where they have built today. And it's such a simple model, but maybe that at a later time we'll have a discussion. But yes, functional National Convention Bureau is of paramount importance. Once that comes in and it's been clearly well funded, I can assure you infrastructure will come in place, investments will come in place, hotels will come in place, the IT infrastructure will come in place, the talent will come in place, because that push that MICE brings in is heavy, and it forces people to go beyond their comfort zones to create different investments.
Wow. We couldn't hear of a better explanation on what Hasnain is saying than what he has just said, but we're going to come back to you and you're going to tell us the story about Dubai in terms of the MICE. But before I come there, Daria, please don't go. I have some questions for you, but let me come to you, Mr. Chege. You know, we've seen a lot of malls everywhere in Kenya, a lot of malls, right? And we haven't seen the speed of investing in big convention centers and exhibition centers in Kenya. Why do you think our investors are more into malls, are actually addicted to malls than to convention centers and exhibition centers, which should be more modern? What's your take in that?
It's all about the return on investment.
Second?
It's all about the return on investment.
Internal investment.
Return on investment.
Return on investment, ROI, okay?
Yes. My fellow panelist here has just said that for a project to make sense, for it to be investable, ideally, you have to be able to prove the value that is offering after the investment itself. We need patient capital to come on board. Ideally, if you are to invest in a conference center, it's a long-term investment ideally, which requires not only a private entity, but more or less a private-public partnership to come on board to amass that volume of resources to be able to set it up. Some of these large investments cannot be done by private sector alone. Mm-hmm. You also have to bring government on board. Some of the big costs that are incurred, some of them are licenses. Sometimes government should be able to give waivers to allow some of these investments to come on board. Other than that, for us to make big strides on investment in the tourism sector, we have to re-engineer the way we look at how we can invest within the continent.
Okay.
We all rely a lot on development partners. We rely a lot on banks. But sometimes I think we need to look at what can we jointly as people, individually. If say today we came up with a tokenized way of approaching investment in the tourism sector, and we're saying that we are floating an idea of building up this particular mall or this particular stadium, or call it a conventional center, and we are all going to be buying shares in that particular facility to support building and capitalize it, but at the end of the day, there is monetary value that comes out of it. Ideally, I look at the return on investment if I was to put in money in a fixed deposit, and maybe anyone here can attest, you get an average of between 5, 6, or 7% on the best case scenario if you are to put in money in a fixed deposit in a bank. But I believe if you are to invest in some of these infrastructure projects that are there, they have more return on investment. So I think also is being able to come up with a de-risked model for us to crowdfund individually and pump in money that is required to set up some of these big investments that we all envision to have. Okay. Other than that, we must look at demand. Before we pump in an investment, we may talk about infrastructure that is one of the biggest challenges, but we also have to look at, is there enough demand to offtake the repayment of that infrastructure? Ideally, we may say we want to expand, or come up with a railway infrastructure to support the tourism side, but if we were to expand, we have enough visitors who will be able to create traction or have a repayment for that particular facility in the right time. As much as we may look at the investment side in terms of only putting in the money, but we have to look at the demand and create the experiences that are required. We need to create or answer the reason to why. Why do I need to travel to Eldoret today? What experience will I get in Eldoret? Now, once we sort out the experience in Eldoret, now we can look at, now we need to bring more people to this particular experience. Now, let's talk on the infrastructure side. Before we address the why in that particular region, then we'll be quite on the same pendulum of talking about investment, because it's a chicken and egg kind of scenario. Who comes first? Is it the infrastructure or is it the investment? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You know, I will come back to you to talk about whether you have the feasibility which should actually guide somebody who wants to invest on whether to put their money on something like a convention center or exhibition center. But before that, let's go to Daria. And audience, I want you to prepare your questions. After the next contribution, I'll come back to you, get your questions ready for Hasnain, for Felix, for Dr. Fagade, and also for Emmanuel. Daria, I know you are listening to us, and I have a question. You know, Russia is a major destination. It's a really major destination, and you've invested a lot in infrastructure, in everything that goes to tourism, which helps you to attract more tourists. If you were to advise us here in Africa on how we can attract Russian investment, where could you want to tell us that we probably need to focus more so that it can attract the Russian investors to invest in Africa?
Thank you for your question. In my first speech, I've said that investors are avoid to go into the market. I think that there are some things that can be improved for Russian investors. First of all, Africa for sure has absolutely different legal system. It operates totally different in Africa, and it doesn't work how it goes in Russia. First of all, I think we need to speak about clear legal issues, because if investor wants to go into the projects, he wants to be sure that everything is safe. It's not only about the money. First of all, we need to think about legal issues. When we want to enter to the project, we need to check, make due diligence of the deal. So not every country have clear legal databases. What I'm talking about? I think it would be easier if it would be a little bit easier to make a due deal of the project. So in which spheres we need to talk about land. So we need to be sure that all the titles that we see in papers are really clear and it's real. If we cannot make online check, we can speak about making an offline. We need to go to the land and check everything. And I think if we have clear this, that this project will help, and investors should be safe that that its money goes properly. I think it will really help for investors to go into the Africa, because for sure there are lots of fears that need to be closed.
Thank you, Daria. Please don't go, still hang around there. We'll come back to you, to the audience now. Any questions for the panel? I know you guys have a lot of questions. Please don't keep it. This is the time. We are all in this together, so they are the experts. You have questions, I'm sure they will give you the best responses. Any question? There are two questions there. There's a lady and a gentleman. Please stand, say your name, where you are from, and the question, and specifically who you want to respond to that question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Masidori Sodiambo, a student from the University of Nairobi. And my question is, actually it's a question that can be answered by any of the panelists. So as a student, and an upcoming entrepreneur, what I've heard you mention about platforms and associations. Which ones can we tap into to join the cross-border tourism opportunities? And secondly, how can me as a student access mentorship or investments to support a scale, either in the tourism idea that I could be having? Thank you.
Anyone who can respond to that? Doctor, yeah? Did you hear the questions? Did you? Okay, maybe you need to be more louder so that we can be brief and straight, direct to the questions.
As a student or an upcoming entrepreneur, which platforms or associations can I join to tap into the cross-border tourism entrepreneurship opportunities, I mean? Then the second one is, how can a young person like me access mentorship or investment support to scale my tourism idea?
I think we've had
okay.
platforms, yeah.
I think I heard that clearly. Well, this might sound a bit harsh, but somebody said something some time ago. He said, if you want to add something from an African, write it down. There's no mentorship in this world that is bigger than your internet. The time you spend on Instagram, TikTok, and all of that, if you spend that on doing research, you'll be shocked at the amount of information you come back with. For me, there's no point taking just one mentor. Design your life, know what you want for yourself, and look at people that are successful in that industry. Pick a lesson from each and every one of them. These days, mentorship is kind of overrated. Please, that's my opinion, please. And I feel that with the amount of information that we have online these days, you can only learn as much. And the good thing is you're a student. You have a passion for something. Google is your friend. ChatGPT is your friend. Nobody can mentor you as much as the guys on YouTube. There's absolutely nothing you're looking for that you'll not find on YouTube. So I feel that once you can define what you want as an individual, you need to mentor yourself to that position through people who have grown. Because by the time you say, I like this person, I want him to mentor you, he might not have the time to take you through that. But there are standard structure that has been created online that you can learn from. That's my own humble opinion, and please pardon me for that if it's wrong.
Yeah, Asnin, before you make a comment, let's hear what Emmanuel has to say.
Yes,
but
so
I like your response.
Yes, you did mention about the platforms.
Yes.
For every industry, you have various trade associations. This is where it starts from. I was in the stand yesterday when I was talking to the folks at in your business associations.
Yes.
They have various categories of membership that even admit you as a student. So these are platforms you need to look at within, and then within the sector that you are aspiring to work in. And this is where then you can get much information and then have that kind of connection and move into cross-border businesses.
Thank you, thank you. Please join Association for Kenya Business Events. It has a student tier where you can actually learn from the rest. Asnain.
You know, my brother here has actually said some very good points. And but what is happening is, the moment you start looking at mentorship, okay, and you start looking and identify one person for mentorship, and obviously, like he said, the time element, we all know how fast the world is becoming. But what I also believe is the new name of mentorship is networking. So not necessarily mentorship, but supposedly, let's say if you're in the tourism field, and supposedly you have, you want to establish your business in, example, in Nairobi, and it's related to a tour, maybe a tour business. In that case scenario, you know you have the Kenya Association of Tour Operators. All right, if you're looking at joining, if you're looking at tapping into events, you have something like ACBE, the Association of Kenya Business Events. And majority of these associations have platforms for upcoming young entrepreneurs, all right, who want to learn, understand the industry. Now, these are the kind of associations you join. If you're looking at a worldwide tourism association, then you're looking at something like SCAL, All right, that's a worldwide tourism association. There's the Kenya Association of Tour Operators, there's the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers, there's the Association Kenya of Business Events. In Mombasa, there's Kenya Coast Tourism Association. So it's identifying which particular business line are you working with, and therefore joining a membership under the Young Careers or the Young Entrepreneurs Program. Now, once you have joined this, they're bound to have networking sessions, or they're bound to have this monthly meets, or such kind of sessions where you're able to meet all the various entrepreneurs or the seasoned business people within that industry. This is where you create connections. Now, mind you, this is where the main relationships are built. Now, at certain times, it's not about mentorship, but these people would always be willing to assist. Now, once you have built a relationship, supposedly you run into a challenge, all right, you can always pick up the phone and talk to any one of the person who can be able to assist you. And along with that, you have the research, like what we said, there's the AI, there's the internet that gives you the research. So there's that first reading, and then thereafter picking up the phone call and talking to anyone within the network that you have met within that association. And I can assure you, the people are always ready to help, and they're always glad to help as and when they need to help. But if you assume that you're going to have a sit down for 1 or 2 hours maybe every 2-3 days with someone, that does become a challenge. Like even till today, in my own personal social media pages, I have young entrepreneurs who keep on ask me sometimes various questions. And I find it as part of my responsibility to answer and to guide them, because we are nurturing future talent. So that does not obstruct me from my time. Whilst I'm on my move, I'm able to answer and I'm able to guide these young entrepreneurs. So this is the direction in which I would suggest you need to move in. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure I'm sure your questions have really been addressed well, but again, we are open to having a one-on-one. There is a question from a gentleman who is in front of you, please. Can somebody give him a mic? There's a gentleman there in front. Your name, where you come from, and the question, and if you want to direct it specifically to any of the panelists here.
Good afternoon. My name is James Geshohe. I work with the State Department for Wildlife, but on top of that, I'm also a student focusing on tourism development, and especially in tropical drylands within northern Kenya. My question goes to Mr. Nurani, but just to give a background of my question, is that we've seen community or conservancies coming up very well in Namibia and Botswana, whereby they are spurring investments within on ecotourism facilities and etc. Within the country, community conservancies are also a new model, but not pretty new. Communities are coming together, setting aside land, and they are promoting mixed-use conservation, whereby they are encouraging livestock, they are propagating livestock. There is also that element of ecotourism development. There is other aspects within community conservancies, but they are lacking capital. And when you look at the contribution that they are making in terms of winning spaces for conservation, and especially in the wake of climate change, shrinking spaces for conservation and investment, they are setting aside land, but they are being discouraged because of lack of capital. To Mr. Nurani, do you see it as an opportunity for you? Because community conservancies are providing a present vehicle for investors who are keen on social, environmental, and biodiversity conservation. Because we are talking about sustainable tourism, not just tourism. That as we are investing, we are also focusing on the ecological integrity of our areas. So is this a space maybe that you see that is an opportunity whose time has come for you to tap into? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Asnain, I know that's a straight. Please go ahead.
Sustainable tourism conservation is the future of tourism. Any investment that disregards sustainability in tourism going forward, and especially with the markets that we are about to deal with, which is the Gen Z beyond, it's all about experiences, sustainability, offsetting carbon footprints, right? And therefore, authentic experiences, which is now combining with this community conservancies, are of paramount importance. And yes, it is something that I would personally definitely consider. If at all, we are already doing that and working with communities, all right, and creating conservancies with them so that we can offer authentic, natural experiences that can bring communities together along to interact with guests, but not just for the sake of as a tourism activity, but authentic, natural, authentic community, authentic, to make sure that we're bringing in authenticity, all right, not just a fabricated community. We want our tourists to deal with our communities, be able to work with them, be able to work with them, maybe sponsor them, teach them, and these are programs that we already run within our Pride in Mara camp, and it's something that we are planning to expand on.
Thank you. You know, I'm standing here and I'm looking at the time and I can't believe we've done already 1 hour. So as interesting as this conversation is, I just want to ask my panel one question, round of question, and then we'll probably do the final responses. Let me ask, and I'll start with you, Felix, then we'll go to Daria, and then come to finish with the Emmanuel. Which are the most promising sectors driving the industry in Africa right now? Promising sectors that probably the investors should look at, which are likely to drive the industry in Africa today?
Agriculture. Agriculture is one of the biggest sectors.
Okay.
I believe that the next crop of billionaires are actually going to emanate from the agricultural space that we have within the continent. Other than that, tourism is also one of the biggest sectors. But we will have to reimagine the experiences that we have to create to bring in more people to come into the African market, but not only visitors from other continents, but also sparring the intra-Africa conversation. Business tourism is also one of the biggest things. At the end of the day, if I was to travel to Rwanda today, I basically will be traveling for business purposes. When I'm there, I'll take 2 or 3 days in my business schedule to go and visit, or create an experience to go and see the gorilla somewhere, or just go for a walk or go for, something which comes in as an addition to my work-related trip.
Okay.
If we're able to bring in an aspect of business and tourism jointly, as we unlock the intra-Africa trade conversation, tourism will also grow in the same length. So I believe that if we're able to marry the agricultural space in a big way,
okay,
production, as you do the value addition, then we start traveling, and trade naturally will spur the tourism sector that we all want to see.
Thank you. Daria, did you hear my question?
Yes, sure.
Please go ahead.
I have a little bit different answer. A few years ago, my colleague spent about 2 months exploring 3 African countries, such as South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, about making investment projects about resources. So I remember this experience, and due to this, of course, a lot of investors, they are looking for the income, and for sure they look about making business on resources. That's for sure, I can say. But we're here on a tourism event. I think if we speak about tourism most perspective issue, I will say again about making invest projects in infrastructure, because here I can see the way of investor, how he can come to the country, how he can make the project, and how he can makes money on it. So I will answer about resources and making infrastructural projects.
Thank you. Infrastructure projects. Hasnain.
If today, leaders within the various African countries can be able to agree on air connectivity under the African Free Continental, I always come up confuse those words.
Yes, that would.
The AFC FTA. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
If our leaders within the African countries can agree to make sure that there's air connectivity by removing unnecessary landing charges and therefore be able to cheapen or maybe get a better value for air connectivity within the various African countries, tourism would be the biggest investment area that can be looked at and would have the biggest opportunities, because the population of Africa and the opportunities that exist in Africa is huge. It is the free trade and the free movement that is very restricting. Even if you look at East Africa in general, all right, that even if someone traveling from Uganda or from Kampala into Kenya is very expensive. Someone traveling from Nigeria into Kenya is very expensive. They would rather go to Dubai, which means we are restricting it ourselves. That is of first priority that leaders within the African countries need to sit down and to come to an agreement. Jeff, if that unlocks, in 10 years, Africa will be competing at the global stage.
Thank you. And before I come to Dr. Fagade, I just want to make a quick comment about what Hasnain has actually said. Somebody asked me to check for him a flight to South Africa. And as you know, we currently have Air Angola. I think it's Angola Air or Air Angola flying to Nairobi, from Nairobi to Luanda, like I think 3 times a week. So it was quite interesting. It actually surprised me that when I was trying to get a ticket with Air Angola from Nairobi to Johannesburg, return ticket, it's going for 40,000 shillings, okay? And I'm not here promoting Air Angola, but I'm saying what he has said. Connectivity, I think all of us could want to go and shop in South Africa. If you knew you could pay 30,000 as a return ticket, a lot of us could want to do that. So that tells you the potential of having open skies for this business really to grow. When you go for anything, it's tourism, it is meetings, you want affordability when you're going to a specific destination. So thank you so much, Hasnain. Dr. Fagade.
I will speak about 3 things. The first of this is, in Africa, we don't look at sustainability because we have not invested a lot in skill and human capital.
Yes.
There has to be serious and intentional investment in human skill and human capital. Let's build skills that can sustain those investments. That's one aspect that you can actually invest in. Second of it is this untapped culinary economy in Africa. We are blessed with food, and it's under-commercialized. If you're talking about agriculture, where are they taking it to? It ends on the table, it ends in the kitchen. So we need to invest in African culinary exchange. Since I came in, I've seen different kind of food prepared in different ways. Those are kind of investment that we can export. Anything that the mouth can consume. And the last one is, we all book our flight on booking.com. We all go on Uber. Where is the African IT companies? And that is an heavy infrastructure. What do we need to invest in that? If AU starts something like a booking whatever today, anyway, in short, don't let me go there. IT is another investment that can be done in Africa. And if you are not looking at that aspect as a Gen Z, start looking at that now. Even the MICE that we're talking about, most training exhibitions are becoming online. Technology is the way forward. And that's where most of investment should go after infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Emmanuel.
Right. An area that has not been really focused on is the creative economy. It's a real big business for us as Africans. Because one will visit a destination, visit a tourist site, pay a mega amount for that site. But then when you live in what you pick out there, that's the real GDP contributor. With or without the movement of people, we can export our music. we can export our creative stuff. So creative economy is one of the key things that we don't have to relent on. We need to take it seriously. It's not about that area of education. If you go into our destinations, the creative artists or those crafting this stuff that we are buying are not that intellectuals. But then they are producing this item for us, and it's sold at a higher price. So we really need to invest in that area and make it intentional as a conduit to tourism, and it will drive our GDPs and our economies. Thank you.
Wow, okay. Before I'm chased from here, you can see the MC is also already standing. Let me take this opportunity to say one or two things. Africa is the current frontier in investment, not the next frontier. Tourism investment is transformational. It's just not the profit we may want to look at. The time is now. Those who wait will miss the momentum. So it's time for us to think. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Magical Kenya Travel Expo for giving us this opportunity to speak with you, also to have this conversation, and also planners from the Africa Tourism Investments Forum, Dr. Nkube and Sally, who has really been very instrumental. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And let's give our panels a hand of applause. Hey, please. Okay. There's a better way they do it, right? And you know it.
The rain clap, ending up to the thunder. So let's give them a rain clap, thunder clap, right? Remember it? We slowly start. No, it's drizzles. It's drizzling. And then it adds on. And then it's adding on. And then more, and louder. And then one thunderclap. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, so we're gearing up to the last session. All right, so I'm being made aware that there are a couple of gifts to be given to the speakers. All right. Maybe media, you know the song I gave you as they finalize so that we can welcome the next group. So this is music from Ethiopia. I'm actually dressed in Ethiopian clothes because I've been there for 10 years. I'm now the one who's back here to experience Kenya. So let's all stand up. I show you how we do this dance. Now let's see if you can be able to keep up, yeah? It's your shoulders. Move your shoulders, guys. You've been sitting now for so long. Move a little. We need some energy for the last session. Alright. Some people wanted to do something, want to move, but I was giving you a to experience in Ethiopia. Thank you so much, media. Thank you. Let's have our seats. So when you say tourism, as you were giving an example, it's not always just about you going beyond the continent, but also experiencing the continent. Ethiopia is home to more than 100 communities. This is just one of the dances and what they wear. But they speak to how do we create the opportunities for them to showcase their culture, but even more so, for you to be welcome. I don't know how many of you have traveled to Ethiopia. How many? Okay, so when we come towards the end, I'll give you some highlights about Ethiopia, what opportunities can be there. But because of the sake of time, I want to introduce the next speaker, or rather, in this case, the moderator, who will introduce the last panel. So in the same rain clap. So we all know the rain clap now, right? Yes, no? You know, it's very rare when you're given an opportunity to just shout. So when you're given an opportunity to shout, please just shout. So are we ready for the next session? Perfect. So please welcome to the stage Madam Jacinta Kiruthi, who is the CEO of AAA SME. She'll tell us AAA SME, I think it's all associations of African SME, right? Right, so it's a mouthful. So she's going to be introducing the next panelists. And we're going to be talking about how does it look like to do collaboration under the ASCFTA, and she has quite a powerful panel. So Jacinta, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Win-Kate. Now, I think she also deserves a round of applause, isn't it? Has anybody applauded Win-Kate? Thank you very much for doing that. It's no mean feat, yeah, to be on your feet the whole day. So ladies and gentlemen, I see the numbers are a little bit thin. Would you kindly do me a favor and move 3 seats up, except the people at the front? Please indulge me. Let us make this conversation a little bit warm. So if you're at the back, my brothers and sisters at the back, just indulge me. It is the last stretch. This is what we call the graveyard shift. I don't think you want to be seated at the back for this on your own. So please move forward and let's make this conversation as intimate as possible. Thank you. Let's keep coming. I see there are more people at the back. I know the energy is a little bit low. So why don't we hype it just a teeny-weeny little bit? So please stand up. As you're walking, for those who are walking, for those who are already seated, kindly stand up just a little bit before we begin the conversation, so that we stretch, get a little bit of air in our lungs. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to spell, okay? AFCFTA with our bodies, all right? Can we say that? AFCFT. Do you know what that is? AFCFTA. Okay, so let's do that. A, what does A look like with your body? Is that an A? For what? Africa? What does F look like? Does F look like this? C, what does a C look like? C, another F with a capital, F, the next F has a capital. Then T, and then A, all right? So let's do that again. A, F, C, F, T, A. One more time. A, F, C, F, T, A. Now, a lot of people have a problem with that acronym, true or false? Will that remind you what it is about? So please be seated. Thank you for that. Sorry. Now, this particular panel is the one where rubber meets the road, meaning it is not going to be fluffy. It's going to be about solutions. So my panelists are not just thought leaders, they are implementing giants. They have earned their stripes, and they are very seasoned in their different areas of expertise. And for that reason, they are extremely precious to me as their moderator, because I will be sprinkling a little bit of pixie dust on their bios, a little bit of magic, so that you see them through the eyes of magical Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to take off into the world of bold ideas, brand power, and beautiful African innovation. Our first panelist is no stranger to blazing trails. She turned down a job with a global oil giant to drill into something even more valuable: creative intelligence as a force for economic transformation. She is now using technology to reshape how we travel, explore, and connect across our amazing continent. Being the executive producer behind Brand World, she just doesn't create to advertise, but to evangelize the branding of Africa's economy. When she's not curating unforgettable travel experiences, she's representing Africa at a global stage, from Cairns to Cape Town, from Montreal to New York, sharing what storytelling, technology, and tourism are the real treasure troves of Africa's future. Buckle up as I list the number of hats that she wears. She's the Vice President of Women in Hospitality. She's a Global Ambassador of Technology and Sustainability at the African Tourism Board. She's a subgroup lead for data and statistics at the Nigeria Economic Summit Group's tourism team. And as if that is not enough, she even once chaired the Brand Journalists Association. Today, she joins us to talk collaboration, again, as I said, not of the fluffy kind, but of the AFCFTA kind. The kind that reimagines borders, unlocks opportunity, bringing our countries closer through tourism, technology, and shared vision. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us from Nigeria is a true brand whisperer, travel tech champion, and an apologetic Pan-Africanist. The founder and the COO of My Beautiful Africa, please welcome Clara Okoro. Members of the audience, our next panelist is a woman who could probably negotiate a trade deal at a family barbecue and still walk away with the last piece of chicken. She's a trade consultant with passport pages that are running out faster than your phone battery at 1%. She is a force of nature in international trade. Her specialty is turning paperwork into power moves and local ideas into global exports. She's worked with the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, where she also helped businesses leap borders, maybe dodge tariffs, and land trade deals. When she's not brokering partnerships, she's helping businesses crack foreign markets. She's running her own private trade consultancy because one full-time job doesn't seem like enough fun. Using the Kenyan lingo, she's an unapologetic hustler. From Accra to Asia, Nairobi to Naples, she's helping companies navigate everything from market entry to why is somebody not buying our handmade, gluten-free goat cheese. Her career passion aligns perfectly with the AFCFTA, and she's a proud advocate for regional integration with intra-Africa trade, making sure small businesses get a seat at the global table and maybe the dessert menu. So she is known for a very sharp business acumen, boundless energy, and ability to make trade sound interesting. She's here to remind us that collaboration isn't just a buzzword. It's Africa's next big export. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to your friendly neighborhood whisperer and business development executive at the Ghana Trade House, Olivia Mokami Wairimo. Let's meet our next panelist, a woman on a mission, armed with vision, advocacy skills, and just the right amount of caffeine to change the world. One entrepreneur at a time. She doesn't talk about empowering women. She builds the ecosystem that makes it happen. She's been called a trailblazer, a strategist, and on a particularly good day, a force of nature in heels. From the boardroom to the global stage, she has made her business to ensure women-led enterprises aren't just surviving, but they are thriving. Spearheading programs that unlock access to markets, resources, and networks, because she believes that success should never be gate-kept. Her passion, economic empowerment. Her superpower, turning policy into progress and barriers into bridges. Whether she's addressing policymakers or mentoring the next generation of business leaders, she brings clarity, charisma, and an unshakable commitment to gender equality. Today, as a panelist, we will witness her signature blend of insight, wit, and wisdom. Because when it comes to inclusive growth, she's not just part of the conversation, she's helping rewrite the narrative. Esteemed guests, please warmly welcome the Women in Business representative at the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Elaine Kimunto Marube. It looks like a female, or it's like a female-led panel, isn't it? Yeah, I think we're balancing out the previous panel, my bandwagon of brothers. So let's keep it going. Ladies and gentlemen, if trade in services were an Olympic sport, our next panelist would have a shelf full of gold medals and probably a protocol named after her. With over 20 years of continental and global experience in trade negotiations, digital trade, investment policy, intellectual property rights, better known as IPR, not to mention everything in between, she has worked with the likes of UNCTAD, and in Africa, drum rolls, COMESA, SADC, the East African Community, where she was not just pushing paper, but she was pushing Africa forward. Currently, she leads with a rare blend of technical brilliance and strategic vision, championing the protocols on digital trade, investments, and IPR. If Africa's trade integration had a GPS voice, it would probably sound like her. Clear, confident, and impossible to ignore. Now, don't let her impressive CV fool you, because behind the powerhouse policymaker is a doting wife, a proud mother, a fiercely loyal family member, and not to mention a friend to many. Her smile lights up dull corners, her laughter is contagious, and when she walks into a room, the energy just doesn't shift. It stands up and it applauds. She's the kind of person who can quote a trade agreement article and make you laugh while doing it. She loves what she does, and lucky for us, that love is infectious as her optimism. So today she's joining us to share insights on how digital trade under the AFCFTA can change tourism in Africa, making it smarter, faster, and unmistakably African. So get ready, because when she speaks, borders blur, ideas fly, and you suddenly believe that, yes, continental integration can both be a policy goal and a passion project. So please give a warm and energetic welcome to the incomparable and unstoppable Director of Trading Services at the AFCFTA Secretariat, Mrs. Emily Mboro Ndoria. Let's bring in the gentlemen. let's have some sort of gender balance. And I will request our organizers to please pull up one more seat for our next panel. We have 6 panelists. Can somebody please bring me a seat to the stage kindly? So we have one more and we need one more. Okay. Our next panelist is someone who's turning the phrase room service into nation service. With over 20 years of hospitality experience under his belt, he's not just managing hotels, he's managing to change the face of tourism in Malawi, which is just a fancy way of saying if tourism were a sport, he would already be in the Hall of Fame. In just 5 years, he has transformed Amaryllis Hotels into more than just a place to rest your head. It's now a cultural epicenter, a launchpad for local entrepreneurs, and possibly the only hotel in Malawi where you might check in and check out with a deeper appreciation for African art. His approach is simple, local flair with global standards, but his results are impressive. The best GM in Malawi, leading hotel in Malawi, and the best rooftop restaurant. And that's just last year's trophy shelf. He's a bridge builder between cultures, communities, and continental cooperation. Under his leadership, tourism isn't just about profit. It's about people, it's about purpose, and it's about pride. So whether he's training teams, mentoring entrepreneurs, or curating cultural showcases, he is proving that hospitality can be more than just business. It can be a movement. So join me in welcoming a man who puts hospital into hospitality, art into partnership, and why not into innovation. I give you the Managing Director of Amaryllis Hospitality Group, the Vice Chairperson of Malawi Tourism Council, and the Global Ambassador for the African Tourism Board, Mr. Rami Wahid. And last but not least, in any way, this is a man that has been to more tourism conferences than most of us have vacation days. He didn't just attend these conferences, he headlined them. He's a globetrotter, a thought leader at Pan-African advisory firm that has been so impactful that even the United Nations couldn't help but applaud officially with an award. He just doesn't talk tourism, he architects it, from transforming overlooked destinations into must-see hotspots, then making the MySpace, which has been mentioned a couple of times, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions into booming business sectors. He has a rare talent, turning strategy into story, then a story into serious results. With a resume that rivals a Lonely Planet guidebook, and insights sharper than surge pricing during holiday season, he's not just a speaker, he's a movement. So buckle up, because you're about to hear from a man who has done more for African tourism than most of us have done for our local trip advisor reviews. Please welcome the imitatable CEO of the African Tourism Partners, Mr. Kwaye Donkor. So that's the magic I'm sprinkling on these very able panelists of ours, because they have earned their stripes. And I think because they're at the last panel for the day, I think they deserve that kind of welcome. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the panel where rubber meets the road. All 6 of you, as I said, have earned your wings and your stripes in your respective fields or ecosystem, which is the intra-Africa engagement at whatever level. So we have been tasked by the ATB, by the KTB, by the Ministry of Tourism to co-create and have an in-depth discussion and explore strategies, meaning you have an idea, you have a notion, how we are going to co-create, package, market, multi-country itineraries that leverage Africa's diverse assets, cultural and natural resources. So the list of questions that I shared are rather insightful. So I will start with the aegis of this conversation, which is the AFCFTA. And given we have one of the architects of the agreement, I want to ask her, what does tourism under the AFCFTA look like? And that will go to Emily. Yes.
Thank you very much, Jacinta. And good evening. Really, this is the graveyard shift. So even ourselves, we have to make sure that we don't lose our thoughts, you know. So what does the tourism sector look like under the AFCFTA? I think I will repeat that until it becomes clear for everyone in this room. So what we have at the AFCFTA is what we call the Protocol on Trading Services. So the Protocol on Trading Services deals with different services sectors, one of them being the tourism sector. Now, not only does tourism come alone, there is another sector that is called the recreational, cultural, and sporting. And so that is why when you hear AFCFTA, we like talking about the tourism, creatives, and the cultural sector. Now, when you have that at the AFCFTA, then member states make the commitment to then liberalize, which means they want to open up for foreign service providers from other countries in Africa to be able to provide services in their own territory. So if it is Kenya in this case, then Kenya makes a commitment to open up to allow other African countries to be able to come and set up in Kenya, if it be a hotel, if it be a restaurant, if it be a tour operating company, to be a tour guide, all that. So all the different areas in the tourism sector is then covered in the liberalization. Then the second part of it for the AFCFTA is what we call the regulatory frameworks. It's actually regulatory cooperation frameworks. Now, under that, what is expected is harmonization of the laws and regulations such that we have predictability. Predictability that the laws in Kenya will be similar, not the same, similar to those in Ghana, to those in Nigeria. And so for a service provider in the tourism sector, then it's easier for them to access that market. We talk about licensing procedures that are predictable and not burdensome, so that a service provider can then be able to meet those licensing procedures. Make it easy. How long do you take to give your licenses? Make it as easy as possible. As you heard me earlier, it will look like I'm promoting Rwanda, and maybe because I look like I come from there, but I am Kenyan, so I'm patriotically najivunia kuwa Mkenya. But they have done a lot of work towards simplifying licensing and authorization processes so that it is easier for service providers and even anyone who wants to invest in Rwanda to be able to do so in a seamless manner. And I think that is what all other African countries are actually aspiring to meet those kind of standards. So those are the key elements that we are doing at the AFCFTA, not to forget the mutual recognition agreements. Now, the mutual recognition agreements, what we are talking about is how can we accept each other's professional qualifications. So we are talking tourism, we're talking the hospitality sector. How do we then allow for professionals from one country to get into another country? I live in Ghana, so I can actually tell you we have Kenyan professionals in the hospitality sector actually running hotels in Ghana. So you can already see it is happening, but we just want to say that we want to see more of that happening, and so that we can have intra-African trade enhanced. I think I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, thank you for stopping there. I just allowed her more than 3 minutes simply because this particular event rides on her. But I will be very strict on my speakers, and please give your answers to about 3 minutes. But thank you very much, Madam Emily. Now, I want to make this as practical as possible. This panel has people that have traveled from all over Africa. Madam Clara has come from Nigeria. Then Emily has come from Ghana. These are my two fellow Kenyans. I have Mr. Wahid, who is an Egyptian, but has flown in from Malawi. And then Mr. Kwakwe is from Ghana, Dankor, but flew in from South Africa. Now, I would like Mr. Wahid to tell me how practical what Emily has said is. I want you to give us your experience. When you traveled as an Egyptian passport holder from Malawi to Kenya, what did that look like coming for this conference? In 3 minutes, please.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And also, I want to deliver a very warm greeting from the warm heart of Africa to magical Kenya. We were discussing this morning, we really need to appreciate what Kenya did. And we need to invite the rest of the African countries to follow Kenya. I was coming to Kenya. This is my first time, by the way, my first few hours in Kenya. I was surprised of the way I've been treated in the immigration of Kenya. So I'm holding an Egyptian passport, and I was expecting to go through a very long process of paying visa and going from a door to another door. However, I got the stamp in literally 5-6 seconds. I don't want to compare. Yes, they deserve it. They deserve it. And I was in shock until I left the airport. However, I've been traveling in different countries, and borders, visas are a nightmare. And while we are speaking about opening spaces, airspace, and get and boost African tourism between the African countries, we cannot have the same situation between African countries. We really suffering in getting the visas. So that's where we kept saying, what happened in Kenya, talking about the corridor visa. The corridor visa, one of the best solutions that Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda came together to say we have a corridor visa. What if we have more than 6 or 7 corridor visas in Africa? The reflection on our income is going to be huge. And again, I'm in deep love with this continent. And I always believe that the solution and the revenue will not come out of the continent. It will come first from Africa, encouraging Africans to travel and to experience the continent. So, to answer your question, I'm in love with what has been done. By the way, we came to the airport, it was full of people. And in 5-6 minutes, everything has been cleared because of the very easy visa handling in Kenya. So Kenya and Kenya Authority, thank you very much for doing that. For the rest of our beloved African countries, from the north to south, east to west, please follow what Kenya did. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So he's an Egyptian living in Malawi and traveling to Kenya for the first time. Thank you for that, for sharing that experience. Now, Madam Clara, you're coming from Nigeria. What sort of experience did you have very quickly? So the mic is right there next to you in 2 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's not my first time in Kenya. This is my third time. So, okay. Like I said, it's not my first time in Kenya. It's my third time. I think the protocols at the airports in my country was where I had a little bit of hitches, you know, and I think it's something that we as travel companies can begin to give out as tips using social media so people can avoid to be delayed at airports if they don't know the quantum of weight you can carry, even in your personal luggage or your hand luggage. If I give that tip out, it can help the next person. But other than that, I think what Kenya did was magical, because the 2 other times I had come, you know, you had to pass through a lot of protocols in terms of your visa, your yellow card and all that. But this time around, within 2 minutes, we had finished with immigration and gone on to where we were brought to our hotels. And I think technology has done that magic, and Kenya has always taken the lead in that.
Brilliant. Give yourselves a round of applause. Huh? Thank you very much, Clara, for that. Now, Mokami, I'm just wondering, because you shuttle between Ghana and Kenya, moving goods and services across, I believe.
Thank you.
What does that look like for you? And especially referring to the second question, logistics and the framework around transport, permits, and insurance. So you work for the Ghana Trade House and you bring in product. Do you do the converse? Do you take products from here to Ghana? And what does that look like as far as logistics is concerned? 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacinta. Yes, I work for Ghana Trade House, and we are the first project of AFCFTA. So free trade is possible around Africa. And being one of the pioneers in the Ghana Trade House, we have experienced some challenges, but those challenges are what is shaping it, and also it's helping in a few policies. You know, in Africa, we have every country having its own policies. But as we are working every day and seeing the challenges, that's how we are creating new ways and possibilities. So when it comes to logistics is one of the biggest problems. It's actually a challenge, the elephant in the room. For example, I give an example of we move goods from Ghana to Kenya, and by sea it's 60 days, which is a big challenge. And why can't we move it by road? First of all, it's insecurity around Central Africa. By road it will be 10 days, but by sea it's taking 60 days, which is very long for perishable goods. When it comes to flight, it's very expensive. So if we would have our airlines, Kenya Airways, Ethiopian, and other airlines, you know, creating a good package for traders to export their goods. And apart from that, we not only export goods, also we export services. Like Emily mentioned, in Ghana, in hospitality, we have a lot of Kenyans there. When it comes to food industry, we have a lot of Ghanaian restaurants in Kenya, and it's happening. So what I'll say by ending this, it's happening, free trade is possible, and tourism is part of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mokami, for that. Just very quickly, Mr. Kwake, you've come from South Africa, You've come from, you're a Ghanaian living in South Africa. How easy is it for you to get a work permit in South Africa? How long have you been there? Is that something you can share with us? Yes, please. Sorry.
Yes. I sold my birthright to South Africa a while ago, so I don't need a work permit.
Sorry, say that again?
Sorry for the voice.
Yes,
you know the problem?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
I said I sold my birthright to South Africa a while ago, so I don't need a work permit in South Africa.
You don't have a permit?
I don't need it.
Okay, wow.
Okay,
right.
I'm a citizen.
Okay.
I'll put it literally,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. So what does the future of, what do you propose in as far as getting permits from one country to another to do business from your perspective? Is that easy under the AFCFTA? Have you put that into practice?
Yeah, it's very, very easy. We've been privileged to be working with AFCT on this. And for the information of everyone who is here, I know very well that they've just finalized the regulatory framework for tourism. So that set the basis and the framework of trade in services across the tourism value chain. So that is one. And technically, it's been easy. Tourism has not been that difficult as other people think. I think the most important thing is to make sure you understand the regulatory framework of the country that you want to trade with. So if you want to be moving tourists from South Africa to Kenya, Kenya to Ghana, you should understand the framework. There is a very important consideration. There is a two-way street. There is what we call, literally those sitting here in tourism will know, you have to know who DMC to work with. Who is the DMC that you want to work with, that destination marketing company? Who will be your ground handler? Those people that you are trading with within the country become your point of contact. And they will make sure that things are facilitated on the ground, making it easier for you to move people. Secondly, the good news for everybody, AFCTA has currently finalized, I'm not sure it's going to be launched very soon, what we call the program on trade, on tourism, creative and cultural industries. And we're privileged to be one of the advisors and the developers of that particular program. And it's very, very clear in that document what opportunities can be leveraged as far as that is concerned. Finally, there is something that was established about 3 years ago with the support of AFCT called the Africa Tourism Private Sector Alliance. Now, if you look across the AU, you have big business across manufacturing, pharmaceutical, all of them. Let me call it Africa Chamber of Commerce for these sectors. And through AFCTA, that organization has been, it was established 2 years ago, is building up. It's not making noise simply because they are putting structures in place and mobilizing resources. And I believe that could also help to relieve. And I'm sure a couple of key people who are part of it, Marriott International, for instance, is part of that organization supporting, and I know they have a program even tonight. So these initiatives are basically yielding results, and I think the way we perceive tourism as so difficult, the most important is let's professionalize ourselves to understand the industry. And I think that is the biggest challenge. A lot of us are here, we claim to be in the industry, but we know very little how the mechanics within the industry work. I believe that that is where we should start from. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dankor. And he says it's important to understand the legal framework of the country that you want to trade with. But I think the AFCFTA is trying to simplify that, yeah, so that there is a bit of harmony in the way the regulations are framed. Now, last but not least, for the first round of questions, our women representative. And this goes to the framework of insurance and safety, because you champion women's agenda, and especially women in Kenya. I'm just trying to think, do you work with cross-border traders, the majority of whom are Kenyan, women, and do you find that there's insurance, there's safety protocols for them at the borders, or what is that environment like for women cross-border traders?
Thank you very much. As the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, we are not only a trade support institution, we are also an advocacy institution. So, to come to your question on insurance, we have been conducting a survey just to get challenges that women are facing when doing cross-border trading. And we have written a paper to the government trying to advocate for women in business to have better insurance, lighter insurance protocols on these documents. And Further to that, we've been looking for opportunities under the SCFTA, and one of them, especially to our business people, members in tourism, is creating, itineraries that can be bundled off as packages. So our tourism members at the Kenyan Chamber of Commerce are taking advantage of this, and as well as women in tech. They are now creating a platform where a tourism sector across Africa can go on, and it's almost like booking.com, but for Africans. All companies that are in the tourism sectors, hotels, can go on that platform and book for their trips, book for their flights, and a percentage of these can go to a committee that will be set for marketing African tourism.
Very quickly, thank you for that. While we are still at that, when I'm talking about cross-border traders, I'm talking about the women who get on buses. See, from here, and they're going to Uganda, they're going to Rwanda, they're going to Tanzania. What does that ecosystem look like where insurance is concerned? Do they take insurance, or do they just get onto the buses and go?
While conducting our survey, we found that most of these women are doing what we call kienyeji business. They pay a bribe to go across the borders. This is to make sure that they don't pay for the various licenses. But if you look at it, at the end of the day, they're spending more money than what they could have paid for just getting a proper insurance cover and proper permits to get across the border. So we are trying to sensitize them on formalizing these processes, avoiding shortcuts. It is safer for them at the end of the day. Sometimes they lose their goods. Sometimes they have shady transactions. They lose money. And they come to the Chamber of Commerce when they've already lost, too late. But we are trying to, cover that gap by sensitizing them on having proper, formalized documentation to go across borders.
Thank you very much. And again, please allow me this.
Of course.
If a woman lost her goods at the border, would you get compensated?
With no insurance, no compensation.
Okay. No insurance, no compensation.
No compensation.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we will walk through, thank you very much, panelists. We will go through the formal set of questions that was shared with us. As much as we can, let's be systematic, let's be short and succinct, and let us give the solutions that are worthy of this panel. So in terms of themed itineraries, which cultural, heritage, or seasonal events across your countries could anchor a multi-country itinerary in the next 12 to 18 months? Mokami, can you answer that for us?
Yes, I'll start with my own country, as much as in Ghana Trade House. Also, I tell people I'm Kenyan by birth, Ghanaian professionally. So wildlife migration, so just the corridor we have here, that is Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya. We can do the wild beast migration. That's a very good one, where Tanzania and Kenya and Rwanda come together and do a wildlife migration, and someone can just, visit 3 of the countries together. Yes.
Mr. Rami, from your experience, what are the 3 ingredients that can make a themed itinerary attractive enough for our global tour operators to pick up?
Okay, in my opinion, the most ingredients is authenticity, having travelers in direct contact with our communities. The other one is seamlessness, by having everything done by one click. And again, the visas, if we can just have, again, the corridor visas. The last ingredient, which is, I know we are doing it at the moment, but we have to do it even more, is the storytelling. So we need to have a very appealing way of telling our stories under maybe a concept to say once in a lifetime. And then we put every